This is a quick video to go through one of the assignments that concentrates on 4 additional 3D tools: loft, revolve, shell, and sweep. So just so you know, we are in a top view. If you look at the top left corner of your screen, and it's also 2D, and in order for us to switch the ribbon to be 3D, we went down to the bottom right corner and clicked on the little arrow next to the gear icon, and instead of using the drafting and annotation workspace, we use the 3D modeling. So I'm going to do this a little differently. We're going to create right here in the top view the geometry that we'll need for all 4 of the different topics that we're going to cover in this video. So at the far left side, we're going to create just a 2D circle. So under the draw panel, we'll go to circle, center radius, click a point, pull your mouse out and click another point. We're going to create 3 circles, so one inside the other. I'll go ahead back to the circle command, go to the center of this one and create another circle. Again, the circle icon here for a 3rd circle. This is all 2D geometry. We're getting set up for the 3D tools that I'm going to show you. So these 3 circles will help us to take a look at how to use a command called loft. There it is under extrude at the top left. You can see that you create slices, and we're going to do that when we go into the 3D mode. Okay, the other tool that we're going to be taking a look at is revolve. So in the draw panel, I'm just going to use a regular line tool. I'm going to create a line. It doesn't matter how long it is. And what you're doing here is you're creating for the revolve command a side profile, whatever you want to use. I'm just doing something a little bit different. It can be whatever shape that you'd like to use, and the idea being that you're creating here a line that's going to be the center axis, and these objects here are going to revolve around that center axis or line. Okay, so this is going to be for our revolve command. We also want to, for the sweep command, we're going to create just a regular line out here in space, a long one, and just a small circle out here away from it right there. What we're going to do here is we're going to, when we go to the 3D screen, we're going to have this circle sweep along this line to create kind of a cylinder. All right, so we have one more command, but we'll use one of the already predetermined 3D shapes to look at the shell command. Okay, so now we can go to the top view here at the top left corner of your screen, and let's look at this in a southeast isometric view. So go ahead and click southeast isometric. Okay, and also we probably should change this from 2D wireframe to conceptual so that you can see the 3D modeling tools that we'll use. So at the top left, we'll change this to conceptual. It does change the background to black. If you want to keep the background as black, you can. I'm going to change it to white so that it's a little bit clearer for you to see. And up to you. The default is working within the black background for AutoCAD. I'm going to right click and go to options, or just type in options. And in the display tab, and you don't need to change the color if you don't want to, we're going to go to the colors button at the far left side there, and then at the top right, I'm going to change my color of my background to white. You can see that I'm changing here the interface colors based on location. I'll pick apply and close, and I'll pick OK there. So now I'm in the conceptual view, but I have a white background. So now if I pick the small circle there, you'll see that the blue arrow is the Z direction. So I'm going to click on the blue arrow right here, pull my mouse up and click. I'll use my escape key to get rid of the grips. And maybe I'll take this middle circle, pick on this big blue Z direction arrow, pull my mouse down and click. Use my escape key to get rid of those grips. If I hold my shift key and the wheel of my mouse, I can orbit around and see that I have those circles now at different Z levels. They're not all still in the XY direction. If you don't have a wheel on your mouse, you can come over to the far right side and use here in this navigation bar, this full navigation wheel here, which will give you orbit. You can hold your left mouse button down and orbit instead of using the wheel of your mouse. Okay, so now I can go up to extrude here and pick the small arrow underneath the word and go to loft. You can see by this example we've created those cross sections. We can then pick loft and select the top circle, the middle circle, and the bottom circle. If you press enter a couple of times, it will bring you back to bypass those nested options that you have here. So we created geometry here for the revolve, and what I'd like to do is copy this so that I can show you that if we revolve just the 2D geometry, the revolve will be empty. We're going to fill it in with a solid so that the revolve will be a solid shape. So let's start by copying this. Whatever shape it is that you created when we created it in the 2D top view. So we'll go over to the modify panel, and the fourth icon over, or maybe with your release it's in a different place, it looks like several circles here. We're going to start the copy command and click in space and pull your mouse across all of these objects and click again so that all of these objects that you want to copy are selected, and then press enter or right click and then pick a base point anywhere close to the object you want to copy and pull your mouse over and pick a second point where you want that object to be copied. Use your escape key to go back to the command line. Okay, so the first object when we revolve it is going to be empty, but this object we're going to use a command called region, and the region tool is underneath the draw panel. You have to click right on the word draw where there's that little arrow there, and this right here is region. You can also type in region and press enter, either way. Now I'm going to select here each one of these objects that we want to create as a region. You can even click in space and put a box around those objects and select them so that they're all selected, and then press enter, and you see the difference. This one is really just a series of lines. This one has the lines but also a solid region, which will help you to create a revolved object that's solid. So let's get started with revolve. We'll go up to the same area we got the loft and pick revolve. Select the object, so you can click in space and let go and pull your mouse across the objects you want to select, and click again and then enter. And now your command line is asking for the axis start point. So we determined that this line was going to be our center axis. Although it doesn't have to be, it could be in space somewhere. We're just keeping it simple to be along that line. So I'm going to click here at the end of the line and click on the other side, or the end of the other end of the line right there. And you see how it's starting to, as I move my mouse around, we're starting to see the shape revolve around that axis, but you can kind of see that it's empty. And if you look at your command line, you can go all the way around 360, or you can just type in something. Maybe we want to just go 180 or 270. I'm going to type in 270 and enter. And so if you take a look, I want to show you that this is hollow. This is a hollow shape, and you can see that you've just created surfaces just by resting your pointer on one of those surfaces, and it says surface right there. So now let's use revolve with this solid shape we created with the region tool. We'll go over here to revolve, and we can just select that solid shape and enter it. I right-clicked to pick enter, but you can enter on the keyboard. Your command line, we said, was the most important part of your screen. We've been through that in other assignments. Is now saying specify start point. So I'm going to click the same start point on this other region. And here, again, I'm going to click the end of that line. And it's the same shape, but the difference is that one is going to be hollow and the other one's going to be solid. I'm going to go ahead and type in 270, but you can type in 180 or 45. Oh, it's up to you. Okay, so now we have the loft command, we have the revolve command. Let's take a look at sweep. We have a line and we have a circle, and we're going to use sweep to select the circle and sweep it along that line or the path. And I'm using basic shapes, but this could be so many different things for you to create. Think about a profile that can be swept along a path. So I'm going to go here to sweep, and if you just rest your pointer on sweep, one of the things that you'll see in this menu is that they used a helix to create a circle around it. Maybe we'll do that. It's kind of fun. But let's work with this one first. So go ahead and start the sweep tool. Select the circle, which is the object to sweep, and then enter it, and it'll say select the sweep path right here. So you see how it kind of consumes the profile, so you may want to copy the profile if you don't want it to be taken away like that. So just to be fun, I'm going to go ahead and draw a helix, and this is the image that was in the sweep tool, but it's underneath the word draw in the draw panel. There it is, helix. I'm going to start the helix tool. There are 3 points you're picking. If you look at your command line, you're picking the center point, and you're picking what the big radius is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and click here for the radius. Now this next point that you pick is determining whether you want the rings to come in or out or go straight up. So if you wanted threads or something that needed to go straight up, you'd want to pick again at that same point, the same circle diameter. So I'm going to come in just a little bit so that you can see it and click. And then if I pull my mouse up here, I can click again. So there are several clicks there. The first one is the center. Second one is the radius for the bottom helix. And then the third one is the radius for the top helix and how high you want it. If I press F2 as a function key on my keyboard, F2, you'll be able to see more of the command line, and you can kind of read what they're asking you for the helix. The center point, the base radius, the top radius, and then the helix height. Okay, So now I need to have something to sweep along that path, so I'll go ahead and draw just a small circle. If it's too big, it won't be able to go around the helix. So I'll use just the regular circle command, and over here, out in space, I'm just going to draw a real small circle. Now I can go to sweep, select that small circle and enter it, and then pick the helix as the path. And there it goes. Okay. So we worked with loft, revolve, and sweep, and now I'd like to show you another command called shell. So with the shell command, let's go ahead and click on the solid tab. So we have a home tab that we've been working out of, but let's go ahead and click on the solid tab. The solid tab shows us some of the same commands that we've been using, but the command I'd like to show you is this shell. Shell will help you to hollow out an object. You can hollow it all the way, or you can just hollow out one surface of it. So we'll start by creating a box that we can use to kind of gut out and shell out a specific amount. So at the top left corner, go ahead and click on box. And just like we did in the introduction, I'm going to just click a point, pull my mouse over and click for the bottom other corner, pull my mouse up and click just to select and create a box. Now I'll start the shell command here. So I'm going to click on shell, and then I'm going to select the 3D model. It says in your command line, select a 3D solid. And then immediately you're going to select this top surface, which is the surface that you want to remove. In your command line, it says remove faces. So if you wanted the top and the bottom, you'd select both of those. It turns gray, and now press enter, and it should say enter shell offset distance. I'm going to type in 0.5 and enter, and you see how it kind of guts it out, and then enter again a couple times to get the additional tools entered. If I orbit here, hold my shift key in the wheel of my mouse, or use this full navigation wheel as we said earlier, you can see that it's kind of hollowed out at a 0.5 distance. You can use this also for cylinders or other shapes. So at this point, we looked at these 4 tools, but we're going to set up our paper. It would make it easier for us if we dragged some of these objects apart from each other, so that when we create our viewports in our layout space to set up our paper, which we've done before already in this class, we can have an easier time to find them and crop them. So I'm going to go ahead as a choice and select the sweep tools, hold my right mouse button down and drag them over up here, let go and pick move here. And then I'll do the same thing for loft. I'm going to select my loft objects, hold my right mouse button down and drag them over here and pick move here. So now I basically have those 4 shapes in different spaces here in my model tab or model space. We said in class that we would create a layer called viewport so that we can create these openings in the layout space. So we'll go to the home tab and at the top left, and we'll go to layer properties here. We'll create a new layer as we've been doing here, clicking on the new layer icon, and we'll just call this one viewport. Viewport. The main thing about the viewport layer is that it's going to be a no plot layer, which means you're going to click right on that little white printer so it has a little red dot with a line through it. That means you'll see it on the screen, but it won't print. And just to keep it clear that it's its own layer, I'm going to change the color to something completely different. I'll click on the word white there, and I'll make it, I don't care, something else, purple. Okay. And so if you wanted to print these in color, you could just create additional layers and change the color, and then put these objects on that layer. But an online class like that would be a choice of yours. So I'm going to make that layer current by double clicking on the little sheet of paper to the left of the viewport layer and close out of this dialog box. I'm also going to go ahead at the bottom left corner and click on the word layout 1. And by creating my layer ahead of time in model space, when I click over to layout 1, this object is already on the viewport layer. If it wasn't on the viewport layer and it was on layer 0, we want to make sure we create a viewport layer that's a no plot layer, because we don't want the boxes to show during our printing. Get rid of that original viewport, so you're back here with just a sheet of paper. At the top right corner, we'll click on layout, not layout 1 at the bottom left, but at the top right, we're going to go into the layout tab, and over here we can create rectangular viewports. There are other ways of creating more than one viewport at a time, but we'll concentrate on keeping it simple, and we'll just go ahead and click on rectangle, and you can create a rectangular viewport. And let's just do that 4 different times. So rectangular, click, click here, rectangular, click, click. You're creating different viewports. Now you double click inside one of those viewports, go up to the shape that you created. Normally we would have 2 shapes, but this will work. You can hold your shift key on the wheel of your mouse if you want to get like a better view. Click inside the other viewport and take a look at your sweep tools here, and then we'll go here to the other viewport and get the revolve and click inside and zoom up to the shell. Okay, now if you double click out in the gray space, you can click once on these viewports and use the blue grips to make them bigger or smaller. We went over that in class. Use your escape key to get rid of the grips. So now that we have all of those in place, we don't want to put our text on the viewport layer or else it won't print. So we want to go back to the Home tab and drop this list down of layers. You can go ahead and create a new layer for text, or you can just go back to layer 0. Then go to Annotate, the Annotate tab. Use the multi-line text here to click in space here, pull your mouse across, and create your multi-line text. We did this in class, but I'd like you to put your cap locks on, and let's name these different tools. So this one would be sweep. I'm going to click in space there. You can use multi-line text for all of these. I'll put here loft, or you can copy them and double click inside of them and change the words. I'll just go ahead with the multi-line text so that I can put here revolve. And then the last one here, multi-line text, will be shell. Now the grips, object snaps, the object snaps pulled this in a different place, so I'm just going to select it and drag it over to where I want it to go. And then we need the assignment name. So multi-line text, keep in mind that these boxes are not going to print. So you can put here assignment, whatever the number is for this class. I believe for this class it's assignment 29, and then your name. And in our previous assignments, we highlighted assignment, whatever the number is, and we went up here and clicked on underline so that we can underline that. All right, so this should be ready to go. If you want to check your work, you can go up to the printer icon and you can change your printer. I know that we don't have the same printers, but if you want to create a PDF of it, you can, or you can attach it to one of your desk copies if you're planning on printing it. And when you do, you'll be able to see the preview is going to show you that there are no boxes showing because the boxes or viewports are turned off. If you're working with a student version of AutoCAD, you're going to get this produced by an Autodesk student version, which is fine. This is a part of the learning process. Okay, so post the drawing file that's called whatever assignment it is. Make sure you're posting the DWG file and not the BAK backup file. If you have any questions, contact me. Hopefully this was informational for you, and we can continue with additional tools.